Hi.
Hello, Reinhold.
Hello, Mooji. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what I understand is that you are moving now to Portugal.
Yes, we are in Portugal right now.
And you are founding something like Mooji Land?
Who said that? Mooji Land?
I believe.
No, it's not. Yeah, actually, we found a beautiful place here in Portugal, and the original name of the land is Foladas, but we felt to call the place Monte Sahaja, which means the mountain of the natural state of being. So yeah, so if somebody said, "Oh, Mooji's land," maybe just it's not called that. So that's where I am. I would not call anything like that. I do
not know who did it. I believe I read it somewhere on the web. So
all right, must be yeah. I don't know what it is.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And what are the plans there? So you are founding an ashram or something like that?
You know, we don't really call it out loud an ashram. I refer to it as an ashram because just to kind of set people's mind in the right frame, so that they know that it's not really a kind of like a holiday place or you know, as a kind of hippie colony or something like this. It's come as though you are coming to an ashram. Then I think it strikes the right tone and the right chord for many people. They have a sense that an ashram is a place more like a kind of monastery or something. It's nothing so strict, but I feel it's important because we are not really the focus here is really on satsang, and we have been for so long traveling around the world, and we really never had a home in this kind of way. We were our home, and I felt it was good to have a place where people could come and really be immersed in this type of space, and with this you know, concentration on satsang and focus on truth. So it started like that, and it's at the very early stages of it. So we are still in a kind of camping situation mostly. Some caravans, some camps, some tents, and so on. And but you know, I feel perhaps it's the best time. Every day is like the best time somehow. Yeah.
So this will be more. You will be spending most of your time there, and will be available for satsang and meeting with people.
I am hoping so. I feel really a bit exhausted from traveling so much. It was brought to my attention that in the last 6 years of traveling, I've only not traveled for 3 months, and that's a lot for me.
Yes.
And I don't have a natural enthusiasm for traveling, so I'm quite happy being at home. So.
Yes.
I felt this is perhaps this would be the place where people could come and come for a visit if they felt like it, and slow down on the going out from my side.
And is everything organization-wise under control so far, or are you facing particular problems at the moment still?
There are challenges that come because we came here. It's actually when we first came here. We were told by the local architect that we had, you know, a good amount of room to build and so on. But then, you know, almost a year later, we were told that no, actually, this is a national reserve, and it's not like that. We cannot do that. But we are not panicking about that, because I know that somehow. I have to use the word that I felt like we were brought here somehow, you know. It was not a forceful entry. I have not really been looking for a place actively. I felt that this whole situation fell into our laps, and whatever brought it about has got to kind of carry it further on.
Okay. So I believe now we are coming closer to the subject. So, what is the core of your teaching, or the core of your attitude towards life?
What is the core of my teaching and attitude towards life? First of all, I would say that what we are searching for is no distance from where we are. It is not located elsewhere. If we say that the truth, in its most purest form, is what we're seeking, then it is right here where we are. It is the core of our own being, and that all that has to be understood is really how it came about that such a misunderstanding or misplacement of our identity ended up being embedded only in the mental and physical aspect of ourself, and how that itself brought about kind of confusion, misconception, misunderstanding, and just that has to be seen through deeply in the heart, and everything becomes clear. This is it. So we are what we are seeking. If by truth we mean our timeless nature, our perfect nature, I'm starting off like that. This is not an assumption for me. This is something that it's obvious, and that is a truth for everyone. Behind all the facade of different expressions as different beings is this common ground, and I am directing the attention to that. And when that is recognized, immediately it puts an end to the suffering condition, and that kind of mindset which seems to be frozen into a kind of a fearful posture, about life. So I would put it like that. And so I think you asked what is my essential core teaching or something, if you want to put. I even don't want to stress that it's so much of teaching, I prefer to say that this is what I am pointing out. I'm pointing it out because I make the distinction, because teaching often requires someone learning something, and I don't think the truth can be learned. I felt it has to be directly perceived, it has to be directly experienced. It has to be that which is beyond any doubt. It cannot be something believed in. It has to be our confirmed and convincing truth, irrefutable truth. I stand like this.
So you would not really call you a teacher?
I don't want to put any labels upon myself.
Okay.
You see, I don't find it is not a I do not reject that label. Sometimes it can be useful to say like this. I don't have an issue with it, but I wouldn't go as far as to say this is what I am. Because when someone learns something from me, they may regard me as a teacher. When they see directly what I'm pointing, they may wish to call me something else or nothing. I don't know. I leave it up to them. I don't want to insist on any labels for myself.
I mean, when it is seen, then it's over. Yeah? I mean,
well, yes, there's a kindness in the seeing.
Yes.
There is no arrogance in the seeing. There's no cynicism in the seeing, because it is really a revelation of timeless harmony. It doesn't have to be busy pushing anything aside anymore. It's a homecoming.
I sometimes have the impression that all drama is created just by the functioning of the brains or whatever it is. Yeah? So thoughts are playing around, and ideas of what is right and wrong are somehow believed, and then the drama starts.
It is unavoidable in the beginning, because it was a move of consciousness in the first place to extend itself into the belief that it is the body-mind and the body-mind's functioning. I don't think any single human being can be responsible for that. The human being, in a way, I have said that human being is itself an expression of consciousness. The human being is not the managers of consciousness. They are not the rulers of consciousness. They are themselves a form that consciousness assumes. So they are not the sentient core. You see? Mm-hmm. So only when the consciousness, which is pure and not personal, somehow I call it like extends itself in the modification and the belief that it is the body and it is the mind functioning, then there comes the belief, I am this body, I am this particular body, I'm a man or a woman, and the conditioning, social conditioning, religious conditioning, all of these gets piled into and upon that root belief, I am this person, I am this form. Then all the other play, the full range of interrelated opposites and their functioning can come alive in front of that core belief. This is what we would say is what we call life, and a life of continuous change, the realm of the relative. And somehow it seems that we are excited by this changefulness, but we also suffer from it, because something inside us comes to a time when we are seeking only rest. And it seems that if we are only aware, or think we are only aware of the relative state, then there's a fear that beyond the relative there's nothing, and so great effort is spent to try and find some ultimate or absolute state within the relative, which is impossible. You see?
That's paradox.
Yes. For it's a paradox. For as long as we retain identity. Yes.
You mean identity as separate individuals, or?
Yes. The identity that I am this body-mind. I am my own autonomy. I am the director of my own life. I am the doer of my actions and the thinker of my thoughts. As long as that identity persists, so the delusion will persist.
So, but saying I am consciousness is also some kind of identity, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, to say I am consciousness as a statement of identity is not enough. If to say I am consciousness as a revelation, as an outcome of directly seeing, not a preaching, not a mantra, but an affirmation, a verification, a recognition, this is fine. To recognize that I cannot be other than consciousness, and that the forms that appear in consciousness, they all relate to me as consciousness. I am the perceiver of them. But yes, that would be, I would say, the opportunity of the human existence to come to that essential recognition that I cannot be an object appearing inside my own consciousness. Something like that.
Yeah. How often does it happen that such revelations happen to people you meet?
I think the revelation happens quite frequently. You're asking how often does that revelation happen to people that I meet? I think it happens very often. It happens very often, but somehow it falls out of the mouth. It happens very often, but somehow it seems that as soon as that recognition occurs, there is a rush, a tsunami of tendencies and thoughts and come in and appears to sabotage the seeing. Lots of doubts come. Doubts come very forcefully, that, such as, how will I live, and With this understanding, first of all, it can come, but nothing is real. Nothing is really true in the way that it was previously perceived. Nothing of that is true. Nothing is stable. You know, what is the point to all of this? Sometimes this is coming up, but that's not the expression of truth itself. Sometimes this is still, the mind is still there. In some aspect of the mind is still there, and it is saying, but you know, nothing makes sense. Nothing is real, and we are believing this. But that's just somehow a burning off of some of suppressed energies now coming in the reverse. Somehow the other extreme is coming up. First of all, everything was meaningful, then suddenly nothing is meaningful. But they are both aspects of the mind initially, you see. They come up like that. So therefore I say to people, please be careful. Don't be too quick to make conclusions about what is appearing for you. Stay only as that neutral seeing. Observe without just judging or claims or any kind of conclusion. Live as though you're only your eyes, if you can, because the strongest assault is going to come for you. Every doubt, even those that you have never been totally conscious about, they will start to come to the surface to cast some doubt upon your seeing. Such as I've started saying before, you know, how will I manage? Who's going to live? How can I live? And you know, how can I stay like this? And you know, also, my life has no meaning. How will I relate to other beings? All of these doubts will come. They will come up. And if we don't hold inside the seeing itself confirmed, just as that space of awareness itself, and you take a bite into these thoughts, then you will get pulled, the attention will get pulled in, and then somehow a fragmentation is the result of that pulling in, and the sense that I lost this will come again fully. And so it will be counting as another experience that happened and passed away. It can be like this. So I would say a large number of people are spontaneously also coming into that recognition. And when I say spontaneously, I mean people who have not been deliberately practicing anything sometimes. Sometimes it comes about because life simply unfolds in the form of maybe a kind of crisis can happen for people. Maybe the passing away of a loved one or an accident or something like that can be enough of a trigger to shake the mind out of its complacency or a sense of, you know, its comfort zone or something, and may just trigger a deeper introspection, and that can continue just a gradual melting down or deconstruction of our thought processes and our identified projections and so on. It can come like that also, you see.
I have a little bit of suspicion that somehow our systems seem to know that they are programmed by conditionings and the life experience, and the system knows it. And there are occasions or situations in life when it is remembered that it's just programming that is driving us and driving the beliefs. And
yes.
There are these glimpses. And
Yes, you say that, that it seems that there is some inbuilt knowingness that we are living a kind of programmed existence up to a certain point, and that maybe the interest we have for this, because it's not just something happening to us and we are totally innocent, it's very much mixed in, the whole flavors are mixed in. It's partly we are also participating and feeling an attraction for that playground of consciousness also. Something is excited by it, and for a while I don't see anything wrong. I think it's
nothing wrong with it.
From that level, it's a kind of, maybe it's a kind of, we can call it a kind of journey, a kind of a slow refining of consciousness that has to pass through more grosser states where it is only the belief that I am this body and nothing else, and all the the way that life will taste wearing those glasses, how to look. And so for a time it seems unavoidable, inevitable like that. Then some power is seemingly pulling the consciousness towards a higher state of realization or pulling it towards what I would call ultimate state of truth. That may seem to be slow, and some people have said this is going on for hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. It can be said like this. If it doesn't suit us like that, we don't have to bother with it. It's not a prerequisite for freedom to believe such things. Only that somehow, whatever we are feeling deeply about, it's not stable. None of it is stable. You see, and that there is some force inherent in life that seems to be in an evolutionary drive towards something more pure and more wholesome, harmonious, I would say like that. But not everybody agrees with that type of statement.
I'm not sure. It seems to be some, it's difficult to put it into words, and it is a lot of speculation with any word that I could use. There seems to be a tendency or some desire for peace for many, and not for all.
It fluctuates. It's not a consistent desire for peace. Sometimes there's a desire for excitement. There's a desire for, even for disharmony, even at a conscious or subconscious level. There's a desire for being something, for playing through different identities. They're all different types of desires that we are experiencing. I say underlying all of that, maybe must be a desire for happiness of something. That I believe all human beings, all beings, not just human beings, have a propensity or a desire for happiness.
It seems, for me, this seems to be like a built-in property which is built into every living being somehow.
Yes.
This keeps us alive. If
Yes.
joy would not exist, why to live then? I think
Yes.
it's a very, very fundamental property of living
Yes.
beings.
Sometimes we try to substitute it with power or fame or relationships. But when it all boils down, we can just say that the impulse in life is to be happy, to be in a state of joy and peace, you can say like this. But it's not always clear that if we follow the outer behavior of human beings, that this is the case, like it's a search for peace or joy. Sometimes the grip of selfishness is seemingly so strong that it doesn't seem that one could really be searching for peace or joy in the way that I would put it.
So the simplest would be to just be as some kind of a perceiving or seeing without action.
It takes a while. There's no one who can make that decision, in a truthful way. It has to be some inner processes going on. I use the word grace. Some people are not comfortable with that, but they call it grace. Inexplicable. The mind turns away from the transient and is pulled into a deeper, more unified field. Sometimes like this, I would say.
What about calling? Sorry.
Gradually, this state, because so strong sometimes, is the conditioning, and perhaps the most deepest conditioning is the belief I am the body. And until that is tackled somehow, the delusions will persist. There may be evolution or maturing inside the deluded state even, But finally it must be transcended, this belief that I am only the body, because it gives rise to such distortion, such, you know.
It has to be protected, it has to be improved.
But this is where the sense of vulnerability came, because consciousness is not the body, and so when it enters into a belief, I am the body, then fear is going to come. The fear, because it sees that bodies are vulnerable to pain and suffering and to death. Then if it has really formed identification with the body, it will going to feel, well, I am also going to die. So then this vulnerability, this fear comes, this fierce, you know, energy to protect life from harm, from discomfort, from illness, from suffering. All of this come. When you are again in your natural state of unmixed awareness, this fear is not there.
So we are not the body, we don't have to fear to die because only the body dies?
Yes, we can say, you know, you say, you know, we are not the body, so we don't have to fear when the body dies. But it's very difficult for those words or that teaching or that concept to really enter behind the very solar plexus of being itself, because underneath this is a firm, even amongst people who have been practicing spirituality for many years, still it is found, this firm belief, I am the body at the end of the day.
I noticed it also.
Yeah. And it's easy to say, it's now almost a kind of cliche to say, I'm not the body, I'm not any of these things. But for that to be really an admission that pours out of that untouched, uncreated space in pure recognition of itself, I think it's very rare, actually. You see, because quite often underlying all other practices, still there's a belief, I'm still doing all of this for me, for my benefit, to secure my freedom. And this my indication is not tackled, it's not looked into deeply.
That's an interesting one, yeah. I did some practices for some time, and at a stage the practices dropped. But I never related it to that maybe this I-driven longing for achievement might have been the driving force of that.
Yes, and it's not easily detected. It's not easily detected because finally, behind any practice is the sense of a practicer also.
Exactly, yeah. Mm.
You see, and it's not enough to say there's no practice, there's no practicer. You see, it's easy for the intellect to express these statements, but to really have it driven out, that delusion, I'm calling it. It really takes a continuous checking in and looking and confirming and verifying, and a sense of letting go. Somehow some things are sort of let go. I cannot teach, I cannot put a technique of letting go. Just when the seeing is there, and then some fear comes up, or some fear that has been holding the sense of being a person together begins to crumble, and then somehow it brings up, it's a kind of vomiting, and it's not a pleasant state sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so there's a kind of reflex in us to return to what is apparently knowable and you know, what is some kind of certainties, but they are still based in the mind. Sometimes it happens like that. But having said that, I don't want to say something that is seemingly discouraging, because it is still a movement away from the idea we have of who we are into our living being. And so there's ultimately nothing to fear. Is this sort of the loosening of the grip of a deluded identity that creates so much stirrings, so much sometimes doubts. They come up at that moment, but they if you are with a teacher, let's put it like this, or someone who can encourage you to say, look, don't worry, just stay as you are. Don't buy into that noise. Or look, who is speaking these words? Who is raising these doubts? And really go into it and look, then all of that superstructure of conditioning, negative or even positive conditioning, begin to just somehow have a meltdown. And what is revealed when the curtain is pulled apart, somehow, is your own imageless being. And the mind cannot paint a picture of that being that can be accurate. It's not known in that way. It's not known in that way. It's an internal knowing. It's a non-dualistic knowing, or a non-dualistic recognition, a non-phenomenal recognition. Sometimes I'm calling it like this. But if we are too literal in our thinking, then we won't comprehend what I'm saying. But for those who have really been looking, you will see what it's speaking, why these words are coming like that. Because there's no other way I can find to express that.
No. That's the crux of language.
Yes, yes. And it is good that it has a limit. It is good that language has a limit also. Because then, because it cannot be held inside language. It has to transcend language. It has to transcend teaching, because the truth is not a teaching. You know, it's not anything that can be described with the faculties of the intellect and the mind and all of these. It's beyond all of that. It's beyond. Not beyond in terms of time and space, but beyond in terms of subtlety and purity. So not beyond that way, but beyond this way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Laugh comes, so
yes, often laughter comes.
We have gone as far as one can with language.
It is good. It is good, because if it stays within the grasp of language, then the ego will take hold of it. The mind will take hold of it.
There seems to be it seems that mind needs language, and language is somehow defined by, or mind is defined by language, and language is defined by mind. They depend on each other.
Yes, yes, and it also has to, the truth also has to ring through in the mind also. The sound, yes. It has to also be felt there. It's the first. Sometimes it can be the first port of call somehow. That. There's an understanding, and that understanding also, because mind in its core is not different from the self.
Of course not.
Our natural mind is not different from the source. But mind in the aspect as person, then somehow it is not reliable, because it's not what the beingness is. The beingness, the person is only a mask over the beingness. It has no reality of its own.
It's just a bundle of thoughts. That's how I used to express it.
Yes.
Somehow it seems to be put together by thoughts which are believed in, somehow intuitively driven by conditionings, or originated by conditionings, and all the
Yes. I feel this is the game. I look at it as the game of existence, of consciousness. And I came slowly to look at it in a soft way, that it's not a kind of a punishing lie or something. I see that as it's seen through our true nature, then even the play of ourselves as persons and life and object and duality is not a threat. It loses the threat. It doesn't have to vanish like into thin air. It's simply just the play of because duality for me is not a mistake. It's not a dirty word, because without it there can be no experience. But it's I find the highest aspect of it is that it becomes a pure reflection in which the absolute can somehow recognize itself through manifestation or something like that. But it just seems that whilst its expression goes like this, manifesting as consciousness and dipping its face into its own projection as the manifest world, a kind of forgetfulness occur. Because I cannot say that it forget itself. It doesn't seem enough to say that. It's beyond the state of forgetting and remembering. But in its aspect as duality, then it appears to forget itself, and by forgetting itself, it then believes itself to be the construct and the body, and then the delusion can increase. The illusions can seem real. They become tangible and real. And if spirituality means anything, it is really a sieving out of what are only appearances, and what remain is that which cannot really be divided, cannot be pushed apart. It has no image, and it's beyond. First it comes to a point where I call that state of beingness, or the state I am, the state of existence, announcing itself in the body, in the feeling I am. And I say that that I amness state is the purest expression or manifestation of the absolute in the manifest world. And somehow this I am consciousness, this amness, it's not a man or a woman, it has no religion. It is consciousness that as soon as it begins to express through the instrument of the body, it seems unavoidable that some identification arises with the body, and then the belief arises, I am the body. Whether that is introduced by parents or society at large or whatever, I call it, it's introduced by consciousness itself anyway. And then the belief, I am the body, gives a sense of autonomy and individuality and personality and privacy and all of this. And for a while, consciousness enjoys this aspect of itself. It feels proud of it. It loves to be an individual, to be private, and to think for itself, and to have the sense of personal evolution. And all of this is all part of what I call the dance of existence. But it seems for many beings at a certain point, there is, triggered by whatever, there becomes a longing for a deeper understanding. It may not be conscious at first, but at some point it gets recognized that there is some urge inside to solve what seems to be the riddle of the existence. Why am I here? Some people are asking, why am I here? You know, who really am I? If this question arises for some. For others, their temperament might be more devotional, or they find the feeling of surrendering much more to their, appropriate to their own temperament. So it's all being pulled by the same single power to go beyond the limitations of the ego identity and to somehow slip back into that universality, which is our more stable being. Then,
I sometimes think, in the end of the day, what happened here? There was a separate individual, a belief, separate individual, and full of concepts, and somehow order came into this. So the mind is no longer a concept creator, but it is more an instance which helps solve day-to-day problems. There was one guy called Ramesh Balsekar who made a distinction between a thinking mind and a working mind. And the mind functionality in good order, in the order that I would propose, is to just a working mind,
Yes.
solving specific problems. And somehow, to me, it seems that there is a period in life, probably when we are young people or during studying school time, when a lot of concepts are planted into us. We want to understand the world, we look around, we figure it out, how it works, and there are a lot of ideas are generated and somehow in our heads, and then they are combined into more and more complex concepts, and suddenly some wild explanations come and a perception or a creation of reality which later then in life is questioned. So why am I here? So what is the sense behind all of this? And then the whole building, which was built up over decades, can break down when with the right technology, techniques, or attitude, or I don't know. It would not even call it practices.
Yes. And the attitude itself sprouts spontaneously. Also, I mean, what causes one particular, in one expression, bodily expression of consciousness, a complete recognition, deep and contented recognition of that eternal truth, and in another, frustrated practices. What can determine this? We don't know. But my stand is that all are that. This is where I keep coming back. We are already that. Whether we can really comprehend, and I don't want to stop at merely saying you are that, because where the doubts arise, and they will arise, I'm here to guide you through sometimes some questions or whatever, so that becomes your authoritative discovery, not merely a belief. Because as a belief, it's not enough. It has to become your own truth, your own discovery. Then you may speak with the authority of one who has really seen, not second-hand, not borrowed knowledge, but true, even I would say beyond even conviction, truth beyond even conviction, you see. So you're right when saying, of course, that aspect of the mind must be retained for daily function. This is nothing, no problem, because it doesn't leave any footprints in the consciousness particularly. It's just functioning.
Yes.
But the kind of psychological thinking, which becomes also part of our a kind of trap, or just informational thinking, it does create a kind of inner claustrophobia, conceptual claustrophobia,
exactly,
for many people. And I feel that it seems to me, sometime in looking, that perhaps one of our great suffering states for a modern person now is the lack of inner space. We are so full of information, of what seems to have come to be really to make things easier, but somehow we don't have as yet the capacity to really not get sucked into that kind of fragmented state of mind. Full.
So somehow I did some meditation over years, but I did not know about non-duality. I had no clue about that, and all these concepts I did not know.
Yeah.
But what I noticed in these meditations somehow, and this is very subtle what I say now, is somehow it seems that the play of mind somehow was seen subtly, and the trust in these thoughts which mind produces all the time somehow became weaker and weaker.
Yes.
This can only be said in retrospective. When this process was going on, it was not so clear. It was just somehow it felt becoming a little bit more relaxed with the time, and the confidence and trust in the concepts became weaker. And now I must say, any concept that mind potentially can come up with, and I'm not talking about the working mind, any concept can only be a thought. And how real is a thought? Not at all. I did not find a single thought that is true for everybody. So all of
this is good.
So all of
this is good. If you can come, as you've said, to recognize that nothing, actually, no object or thought has what I would say a single inherent meaning.
Yes.
Then that is already something very broad. Then you see that the thoughts in themselves have no power. They only have power when they are believed in.
Yes.
By themselves, they don't have this power.
Judgments don't make sense. So what is bad then? So all bad, and even good also, even good. They somehow they lose their bite, and it becomes more peaceful. So there is no two.
Something is left to life itself to play through our own inner being, because I don't want to fix and to say even where is right and where is wrong, because sometimes I feel where there's right and there's wrong, and sometimes I feel it's not right or wrong. There are always some new shades come. I don't want to be absolutely, sometimes you have to express something that this is really incorrect, because that is the appropriate expression in that time. Another time you say, well, there's no such thing as right and wrong. This is what seems to be like the paradox, because often you are not just addressing a question or a situation, but you are addressing the particular questioner. And so what can be sometimes, what will be appropriate for one person, spontaneously it's coming, the response that, okay, this thing is really, this was a very big mistake you make here, you see? And that feels totally authentic and appropriate. Another time for somebody else, the feeling is, no, forget about this thing about right and wrong too much now. Just leave all of that and stay in just the space of neutrality. Don't let your mind plunge into judgment. Stay here. And yet for another one, we're saying nothing at all exists. You see? But even it's changing depending upon, and spontaneously also. It's not anything that we rehearse.
This is something that, for example, between the two of us now, somehow there is some kind of a communication, and you would probably say consciousness is playing with itself somehow. So I don't know. And there is resonances and whatever is going on there, and these decide about the expressions. So, and one expression can be rejection of a deed which is seen, and another one can say, okay, now neutral is nice, and another one can.
I think this is really healthy, because then it shows again, once again that there can be no situation or thought or anything that is phenomenal that we can somehow label like this is constant, this is totally dependable. And I feel this is the health of the consciousness itself, because then it means that you must go further than this. You cannot find anything that is in the phenomenal manifest world, so to speak, that you can say this is true for everyone. And therefore, sometimes I've said to people that we are never going to achieve this feeling like, oh, this world peace through our concepts. You can only go beyond, again, into that purity before concepts arise. Not to be afraid of concepts, but to go beyond them.
Yes.
And then you return to your universality, which doesn't rely upon these concepts, these divisions, this kind of hierarchies in order to be. You find food, well, you come to a state where one is in smooth affinity with all expressions, and there's an understanding of them. And it's not something that is planned through the mind. It's much too spontaneous to be called mind. Something arises and it's really fitting, appropriate to the needs of the moment. It's more an intuitive. The life becomes much more intuitive, more spontaneous, less rehearsed, less strategy. And this, I would say, these are the fragrances of more what I would call the natural being. The rehearsed life, the kind of planned strategies, the kind of forceful way, these are to do with our culture, to do with our own kind of conditioning, and we will never come to a universality in this way. We may try and appear as such, but underneath that, something will always unmask us and see that there is some inconsistency, there is some hypocrisy in our way. You have to truly plunge backwards again into that space, which is before concepts arise, and it is there. This is what the human being has a chance to discover, that beyond the limited field of the mind, which can seem unlimited in its own way, there is a space of pure being. And here is where I would say there exists pure love. Love meaning the unity of being, the unicity of being. And all the other aspects of love can then find their correct expressions. And here is also the peace which no one has to keep. No one has to be the keeper of peace. One is oneself peace, where there's harmony, but there's no one to keep the harmony. Oneself is the harmony itself. When your intuitive powers are completely alive, but there's no one keeping or developing intuition. There's no somebody living life. There is just life. You are life itself. So what I speak when I speak like this, there's no poetry about it. I speak only what is very clear to see. And I see that such a wonderful opportunity is existing in life. But it's not entirely down to the person as such. The person is only a wave within the great ocean. But each wave has the total ocean underneath its movement. It has no real autonomy to decide where to go, how big to grow, and nothing like this. It doesn't have that. Just apparently it has it.
And it can be relaxed in this. Yeah, it can be relaxed on the ocean, basically. Yeah.
Oh, this is yes, really relaxed, but we're not even. It's relaxed just by nature, not by effort.
Yeah, nobody can do it. Yeah. It's just somehow again the attempt to express it in words. So.
The self is also present even in the ego. The self is also present even in the ego. So the ego also, if it were not like that, the ego could not stand a chance. The ego is sipping through the drinking straw that is dipped into the ocean of self. Yeah. Otherwise, it has nothing at all. You know, it only makes the mistake that somehow it feels like it has a true autonomy or something like this. It's a mistake that consciousness has designed it for itself to experience in the form of individuality for a while. That's one way I can put it.
There's so many ways of putting it. And none is true, and all are true, and all at the same time. And
everything things are only relevant according to their appropriateness. There's a time, if there's a time when they are called into action, because then they have the power to really reveal the self. If they are only expressed for mental gratification, then that's also, I don't know what to say about it. I don't feel that the state of being has the job of teaching anything. It simply is. And that's its natural resting place in its own amness or isness. But naturally encounters come, and somehow a kind of communion takes place spontaneously out of that.
since this material world and even the thoughts or whatever it is, or whatever can be named, is some kind of a crystallization out of this self or of the self, and then some kind of reflections within it seem to happen. And one of the strongest, or one of the reflections which impresses you obviously and me also, is this reflection of the self to itself. So this inward looking, and what can be seen.
Yes, when it comes to this point where it is clear that it's only the self is behind every mask, and it is having a love story with its own self. When it becomes clear like that, then it's a very wide joy. It's a very wide joy. The whole menace of the egoic mind, it completely loses power. It completely loses power. And when the seeing is confirmed in itself, the mind that was formerly operating deceitfully quickly changed sides. And then join the winning team and becomes a good servant.
Yeah, that was an amazing one. When there were some insights here, it was noticed that all my life basically was thrown away because the truth was not seen. And all the life, it means almost 50 years, but still the inside was worth it. So
yes.
No problem.
Yes. It's funny because when somehow the delusion breaks open, or the truth breaks through the delusion, whichever way we feel comfortable to put it, and even the life which we see was not true, and but still it felt it needed to be like that up until that point. It was also a hand taking you towards the truth, but you could not see it. We could not see it.
Yes.
We believed it too much, and we were in a state of some form of sleep, I guess. And
a long night, you know. And then you wake up in the morning. Oh, what's this? Oh. Somehow.
Very good.
Yeah. So what would be the recommendations for somebody who is touched by talks like this, for example, and still is at the beginning of a path or whatever? What would be the recommendation to start with?
What I would like to say to anyone who, say, listens to this kind of conversation and feels touched somehow is don't get busy in yourself. Already it means that something is striking at an essential place within your own self. And sometimes the mind wants to participate, but it's the same old regime. And it wants to participate into, I want to get somewhere with this. And I said, no, it's okay. You can be aware of that. but more be in the attitude of saying yes to this, yes to that intuitive space. That space, usually when we are touched, what I feel happens is that there's a sense of an inner space opening up, and just to be in a state of yesness to that, to welcome that, because it's already, something is already moving, and it wants to come to flower by itself as well. It is not usually what we expect. We think, oh, okay, now what do I do? Where do I go? I should go and do this, and I should go and do that. And I say, no, don't panic. It's good. It's better to kind of keep quiet and to allow the words or what the words are pointing to have a sense of the space in them, to somehow happen by themselves a little bit. Be quiet with yourself, and if something resonates and something wants to move towards that or to welcome this, then it's already what you're doing. You're already welcoming it. And I say, just be quiet with yourself. Sit in the energy of that feeling, that space, and out of that something will come, rather than from outside or from the mind. Out of that there will come a kind of a prompting, a sense. It may not come in the form of a direction to say turn to the right. You may just find that you go to the right and you encounter someone or something that just makes that recognition a little bit more tangible. Like, wait, wow, it's almost like something is assisting, like my actions are wind assisted. You feel it's beautiful. Actually, it's a beautiful
opening.
Opening. It's a kind of date. It's a kind of on your first date with the Supreme Being. It's taking you through something that it's not to be shared with anybody just yet. Just be with that, I would say, like that. And like this, you begin to see that there is a power. It's not just mind power, but there's a power broader than mind, inexplicable, that is uniquely connected with you somehow. It may be expressed or felt like a movement of love, or towards love, or grace, or something indefinable. We don't have to give any name to it, but there's already a stirring happening, and there's an intuitive welcoming of that, a yearning for that, a longing to come more fully into that. So already things are turning. This is what I would say, rather than to start reading a lot of books and so on. I said, no, just be quiet with yourself and it will come. And then I would say, if you have the chance to go to some satsangs, then you go and sit a little bit in the energy field of satsang. And even if you don't have any questions, just be in that. Just be in that, like how you sit under a waterfall. Just be in that, and something is being carried in this. This is what I would really want to encourage. That it's already begun. Not how do I get started. No, it's already begun. Just keep on saying yes to that intuitively in your heart. Just say yes to it. Just come, whichever way that I need to go, whatever needs to take place. I'm opening to that. I'm opening to the all possible. This is beautiful, you see.
Yes. Good way of putting it.
Yes. So that you don't leave it to somebody to kind of mark out a course for you, but somehow you're just somehow available. It's almost like you make yourself available without trying to direct the energy what you need. So don't go into a place of need. I want this, I want that. No, but just make yourself, present yourself to that. Just say, yeah, I'm up for it, whatever. I don't know what my path will be, but that's okay, because I'm saying yes to that. That's already a very good way.
It's a strong start, yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
Even though it sounds utterly simple, most people have learned, in order to achieve something, we have to do something. So reading or all this stuff would be a natural movement in this old habit of thinking or acting.
Yes. If it comes, for some people, if it comes that something wants to go out in that kind of, in the energy of that, the impulse to move, to make some step, then it's fine also. Nothing's wrong. It's fine like this. But I would just say also, don't panic. Don't feel like, oh, if I don't move, nothing, because that's how the old mind would behave.
Exactly.
But already, it's like. Yes, this yesness internally is a good way of putting it.
Yes.
Because it is simple, you see, and it's like you come to see that there's a power in the universe somehow that works completely different from how your mind works, and you're starting to love it. You're still going to start that finding that maybe it's unpredictable. And you're discovering that you also can be unpredictable. I don't mean erratic and impulsive, but too much being predictable is a kind of death. Something has to be fresh, that also you can surprise your own self. Sometimes words will come out of your mouth that you are hearing for the first time yourself. Something, you see, like sometimes you undergo a slow change in behavior. These are really good things, but then the mind says, oh, watch out, you see what's happening, you're falling apart and so on. And you have to be able to bear the kind of doubts that come up in the mind like that.
As you said in the beginning, the truth is eternal and it is here.
Yes. Yes. In fact, it is the only thing that is here. Everything is a cloud passing. Everything is a cloud passing, so we can say a cloud is also here, but momentarily. Everything momentarily, and it is fine. It's meant to be that it's momentarily. But it is passing in the presence of that which is timeless. Looking through your eyes. Sometimes I ask the people, who is looking out from behind those eyes? And somebody once said to me, conditioning is looking out. I said, this is a very, very honest answer, you see. But then there is also something that is watching that conditioning is looking out, and that is earlier than conditioning. You see?
What is that?
Yes. And first of all, the very fact that we are aware of it is already the fact that it is already so. Then we may say, you may say, well, can that itself be conditioned? If conditioning is watched, even seeing is seen. You see? And that is a very direct pointing that sometimes the mind cannot bear it. It's like it's too direct, you see. But for others, they totally love that. They feel, oh yes, it's time, enough time spent scratching about, So this type of looking is like a mind bypass, straight in to that place, which is the uncreated space. In front of it, what is creative or created or appearing or disappearing, everything is seen, that everything is a kind of traffic of sensations, concepts, emotion, feeling, and the dance of interrelated opposites. All of that is taking place in front of this. But this itself cannot be seen. Sometimes I ask, can that itself be seen? You see? And just the very attempt to really look into, invite this question and looking in, already is burning forests of illusion. Sometimes we are not ready to see that at the end of the road there isn't we are not really an object. We are pure subjectivity. And there's something, sometimes we have to go through a door of fear a little bit may come, because we have taken some sense of security out of the feeling that we are objects, we're tangible beings that way. And to come to a place where you are there before even the objective expression, before even your portrait of yourself come, something is there which has no image. That can feel a little bit of a, a heart attack for the mind. But if we can face it, we can bear it, and what a great finding, what a great beauty.
Yeah, I think one can play with it also, yeah, just playing with the sensation, yeah, that the body already is a perception and an appearance, and there is an instance which perceives already this. I think that might be an intermediate step to play with.
I think really that for a while, so profound is this kind of discovery that we will not be in a playful mood if we are authentic. It will feel too profound, too possibly life-altering to yet call it a play. If when we are looking with that intensity, with that kind of inner focus, you don't know if what you are going to find, because sometimes when we are looking and you come to a point where you know that if you go further, what you discover might be so profound that it may change your life in so many different ways, then sometimes there's some hesitation to really go more deeply into that. And but if we are fooling around a little bit, if we are just experimenting for experiencing, we are again attracted to experiencing, then you can say, yes, we can play with this. But at a certain point, the playfulness changes and becomes something more acute in its intensity. The prospect of the deconstruction of some of our thought processes and conceptual projections, that can feel very, very imposing. But a rare one goes consciously and says, yes, even here, yes. But only usually because you've had a foretaste of that infinite power. And something, it still can feel a risk, but something says, yes. It jumps without a parachute, and beyond that we cannot speak.
Just trying to find ways to explain this.
I only want to explain to those who really are candidates for freedom. In a kind of sense, I've said like this. It's just that there comes a time when there's a readiness, but not necessarily that one knows I'm ready, but somehow it's coming out. It's coming out because there isn't here any desire to shake people into awakening. So if it comes, it's already something that is brought about. It comes like that, and then there's real joy in that kind of communion. Real joy, because sometimes every step, every moment is a deeper expansion into towards that seeing. And when it finally, strikes home, this, when the fearful mind is not only in the back seat, it's not the driver anymore. It's not only in the back seat, but it's fallen out of the car itself. This is a great moment, and it's not a moment like I would say. Awakening is an event or anything, because I don't call what is an event, but the event, if there is one, is the recognition that occurs to the mind. And it simply merges in that wholeness and wholesomeness, and is fortunately and auspiciously lost in the infinite. Something like that.
Even words like infinite.
These are words that can only have meaning intuitively. When we speak about words like infinite, timeless, we can only have an intuitive, we can only be touched intuitively about them, because the mind has no way of measuring that. But yet our being has a familiarity with this language. It knows that, isn't it?
Yeah, it points towards the outer frontiers, somehow.
Yes.
Towards I don't know. I cannot put it into.
Well, it removes the sense of boundary. Yes. It removes the sense of any boundary, which unconsciously we don't realize how that somehow is unnatural for us in our intimate being. Because something inside knows intuitively that we are boundless. I don't think we know it at the front of our mind in the same way, but sometimes we know this when we are really pushed into very intense experiencing, or we are pushed by the force of some deep sorrow or tragedy. We are pushed beyond our imagined limits, and it's revealed somehow that we are beyond our limit. But normally in our so-called comfortable zone of existence day to day, we are not really, we're not in touch with that, consciously with that infinite, with the infinite. When I say like this, when I refer to us, I'm speaking as the consciousness that is still in relationship in terms of identity with the mind and conditioning. Because always consciousness cannot be ruled out, even in the most deep and deluded egoic expression. It's still sitting in the lap of consciousness. Consciousness is there, but it's just not conscious of its consciousness.
So I sometimes have situations when things become tense, so somehow the ego then is on, or we might call it ego. Do you have these situations also from time to time, or? Well,
actually, we do talk about these things, because sometimes there are some tensions come, and people ask what is the meaning of it, and I tell them that the meaning of the tension that you're feeling in the chest right now is that there is tension in the chest right now. That's all it is. And because the mind will take this and start to, wrap a story, because around it. Normally I say, actually it's saying here that battery is going to run out on this, but I will continue. Ordinarily, any experience that take place, any sensation that occur, is completely a natural phenomenon. That is not the problem in itself. The problem begins when certain kind of tendencies to interpret and to judge then swims up around these feelings or sensations, and then this whole process of interpreting and exaggeration begin, and it is that gives off the bad smell, really. So of themselves, they don't mean anything. As long as you have this body, it is prone for so many different sensations will visit. For me, I have no keep out signs, so everything can come, but they're only tourists. I say there's no need to offer tendency to any concept, to any thought. But let them come, let them come, let them come, let them play, let them go. What is the most powerful tool, or the most powerful time of realization, the most powerful transcendence of mind, is when the mind and its effects become insignificant to the being. because mind only has power for as long as it appears to be significant for us, as long as we have interest and belief and identity with the mind, then it has power. The mind, the egoic mind, cannot intimidate the pure being. It can only intimidate that which, the idea we have of who we are, but it cannot intimidate what you are. So when we are living in a notion of ourselves as being Mr. So-and-so, and you have all these other attributes that we consider to be what we are, then the mind can work with that. It can challenge that. It can confront that, because any identity formed outside our natural self recognition as the pure awareness, any other identity, any facet of identity to do with the body-mind, is a state of insecurity. It's a state of vulnerability. It's going to be there, no matter how strong a Goliath you may think you are. Then there will be a David to take you down. So you know, it's very untrustworthy, very unreliable. Any state that we identified with, apart from our natural being. And so, in a conscious recognition, conscious grasping of this truth, then all of these fears, all these delusions will flee. They may appear momentarily, because you are a living being. If I take this glass of water I have in front of me like this, and I move my hand, the water will move, because it's like this. It's the nature of it. But if I put it back on the table and leave it, it's going to become still again. And just the same way, the consciousness is a very vital force also. And so emotions can come, and it will tremble for a moment. But because there is no person there to receive the impact of that, psychologically or emotionally, then it comes to stillness naturally without any effort. So therefore I say, don't worry about any sensation that can happen in the body. Even fear can happen momentarily, but it cannot linger and it cannot proliferate, because it has no root and no soil to grow in. Like that it will happen. But as a living being, yes, any visitor can come across your country, but none of them is given tendency to dwell with you, cannot need it.
There is no host.
Yes, there is really no host. The host is just the thought, this is happening to me.
Yeah.
Then that would be
a host thought then.
Yes.
Yeah, to me then, yeah, that would create the host.
Yes. Well, yes, in fact, this feeling of me, if the me is based in, is a construct of time and memory. If it is a construct of idea, identity, and conditioning, like that, then for sure it will feel the impact of some concepts. But if the me is the pure I amness itself, which is free of any other contact with any quality, let's put it like that, then it really is only functioning as an intuitive witness, and is impartial really, although it's not without feeling, but it won't get entangled into the noise of the mind. They will come and go, Everything appears and disappears. It's not affected by that. But again, I would like to just say, if I can say this, as far as practices go, the main aim for most spiritual striving is to what I would call sieve out the I am, the pure I amness, from the I am this person, I am this, or I am that, so that this pure intuition, the sense of presence, remains unmixed. It's not in contact with any partnership with any concept. So when that pure state I am shines by itself, it is said that the perfume arising out of that self-absorption is peace and joy and an intuitive state of knowing that I am without boundary, and that silence of being. This is the perfume that comes out of it. But I want to just say this thing now, that even this state I am, great as it is, it's not the ultimate, because it is not there in deep sleep. It is not there, so there must be a break in this state of I am. So that in which the sense I am, the presence itself, is felt or perceived, that is beyond all knowing. That is beyond created truth.
There's some kind of pure being which cannot be described in the end. So
that is what I am pointing to. Alone is here now.
Yeah.
The I am itself is the earliest extension of that. Yeah. And then further extensions produces the feeling of the ego, the sense of unique individuality and autonomy, and further extension produces the sense of the world and its effects.
While you spoke, this sequence, the last sequence, the remembering came up in my mind here, that in the Bible or in one of the religions, I don't remember which one exactly it was.
Yes.
There was an order not to draw a picture of God. Yeah? And
yes.
It came intuitively here to say, do not draw even a picture of yourself, of you, and that's the direction there.
Yes, in the same way that even the most beautiful and accurate portrait of you is not you.
Exactly.
You see? Is not what we are. And that ultimately, any portrait or any representation of oneself is itself a phenomenon, an image in consciousness that cannot witness itself. It requires something to witness that image. So the witness of that image is beyond the image itself. See?
Yeah, it always comes back to that point. Yeah?
Yes, thank you. Yes, please. It always comes back to that place. If it comes less than that place, it is not home. Not yet.
So, and that is pure being.
Absolutely. Yes, effortless, yes. The aspect of myself in the body is also here. I can call it also real, but it is temporarily real. Let's put it like this. The aspect of myself as this body, as the intelligence and the programming and conditioning in this body, that's also, I don't want to deny that. That is also arising out of myself, and it also is also authentic in its own way.
Sure. Because
only through that body can I have the taste of self-knowledge also. I would say it's the good use of the body.
It's an appearance, an expression which will collapse, and it seems that the play of it all goes in cycle and new expressions will arise and collapse again. That's the way it seems to be.
Yes. There isn't too much of any intense or intimate monitoring of the movements of the body-mind. It seemed for me that all the body-mind movements have merged together into one kind of soup of sensations that just forms the kind of the hum of existence itself. When I say like this, what I really mean is almost as though the eyes are looking out with a panoramic sense in them. They're not holding the focus on any particular thing. Things come into focus momentarily, go out of focus momentarily, but everything seems to be pervaded by that unbroken beingness. So they carry the fragrance, the resonance, the DNA of the beingness itself.
There is one guy who put it, that's a play of energy is playing through form, yeah? And we do not have a position in that, yeah? So we are that, yeah? We are that. So
this is the, if we say like this, then, you know, we are not rulers of that energy. It is spontaneously, this is the greatness of that, again, coming back to the feeling that God does not create in that way. It simply think things into existence. And the vital force, which is the animating power, that seems to somehow, they work together.
It's also,
as streams flowing out from that absolute.
It's expression. This vital force is an expression of that.
Yes, yes.
Somehow.
Yes.
And when this belief of being a separate individual or a figure in this somehow relating to the rest of it, meaning at the same time being separated from the rest of it, when this can disappear, and then
it will go on for as long as consciousness plays like that.
Yeah.
The feeling of I am the body-mind is also very natural for me. It's a natural expression of consciousness, and when it, I can use the word like chooses, or it pleases consciousness to manifest as the belief and identity I am the body-mind, then it moves appropriately within that self-definition for a while. Whether that brings about a state of suffering or hardship and joy and dreaming and pursuing and everything, that's also a viable expression of consciousness. When it seems to absorb all those tendencies, all that diversity, and unifies itself into that self-discovery, that I am the witness of all things, I am not the things I am witnessing. When it comes to that unified seeing, it seems something rare, I feel. It feels something that is truly rare, that it really comes into that in such a way that there is no cynicism, there's no sense of hierarchy, there's no sense of it being higher for that reason. In a way, yes, it's true, it's the purest expression, because out of that expression, being the perfect expression of the embodiment of consciousness and its purity, yes, it is something. It says it brings light into the world. This is beautiful.
It's simple. It simplifies things and puts some order into it. So that's
yes. All things are manifest and are seen in their total simplicity, because the simplicity here means in their unified wholeness. That they are not a fractured existence, but they're all held together in the womb of this unicity. It's something holds it all together. This is the beauty of it, that all things are shining out of that harmony. That is the joy, that's the grace of all of it. And then blame goes away, and when blame goes away, shame goes away. And when blame and shame goes away, then the beings are happy. Expectations go away.
Judgings, blame, desire.
Yes, desire goes away. Fear goes away. Something cannot go away. And that is allowed somehow to just
rest.
Rest is good, thank you. Rest is good. To rest in its own contentment, if you want to say like that. Rest is a nice word. But the rest is also part of its most the subtlest phenomenality in it, because it is beyond even rest. So perfect it is, because it was never anxious. It was never really stirred in order to say now it's at rest. So it is still the subtlest form of phenomenality to say when it comes to rest. But rest is felt in its dynamic expression. But it, the Absolute itself, is beyond rest and agitation. It is so perfect. And I want to keep on reminding that that is what is here now. That is the core. It's our core being. And there's no single human being or any being who is outside of that core.
Somehow it is like the motionless, and I do not find the other word. There is a formless and motionless background of his whole being, something like that.
Yeah. Yes. Indescribable. There's never been a word, I think, that really can captivate it. I don't think Lord Buddha could do it. I don't think Krishna or Shiva or Jesus or Muhammad or any human expression of that have been able to convey with words or concepts what that is. So they only had to say, I am that, and their presence radiated that somehow, that understanding. And those who were sensitive to that, who felt love and attraction for them, could somehow drink from the fountain of that imageless ocean. Because it says, if you try to study me, you will never reach me. But if you love me, I am your own. This is the thing. If you try to study me, you can never fathom me. But if you love me, I am your own. In other words, if you try to figure me out, your very attempt to figure me out will make you seem apart from me. But if you accept me and love me inside your heart, you will find I am there, one with you. This is somehow maybe said in some Upanishad or something like that.
This is what I try to express with the background, which is everywhere. The background is everywhere, all pervading, but still motionless and formless. It's just the background of the play of forms and movements.
Yes.
It's always there. One can blindly trust. One can blindly trust that it's there. It's there, finished.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mooji, for the time.
Very good. Very good. I'm happy.
So I wish you all the best with sorting out the issues and challenges in Portugal.
Thank you.
And what about the location? Is it close to the beach? Can one combine it with holiday in Portugal?
No, it's not close to the beach. In fact, I'm happy it's not close to the beach. Because when you come here, there's no other distraction here.
Okay.
When the people come, then they really have to come here. If they want to run away, they have to really take a train or something to run away. So when they come here, because we're living in a small village, and if you run to the village, you're not going to be very happy. But if you stay, this place is a universe.
So is there any structure, any setup that you have in mind, or are you
well, at the moment, what happened? We are like a group at the present that it is rotating, but there is a number of people who have been firmly here from the beginning when we came, and we just came first. No one had lived on the land for over 30 years or something, so it was very well overgrown and so on. So we came initially just to clear the land and to, tidy the place up initially. There's an old ruins, and we came and cleaned it up as much as could be. There's still, I'm looking right now at it, there's a big gaping hole in the roof, and so there's rain coming in, so on. So we did some work at clearing up and making as much places where we could be comfortable, we could eat together, and we can, move about. People started camping in very basic ways, and then gradually things move on to now we have a platform that's almost completely finished, that we could sit 100 people, we can have satsangs there under a beautiful oak tree. We have water now. We have very, very basic electrical things. I am talking to you from our makeshift office, which is a camper van, and we have internet, as you can see, like that. So it's we are very happy. We have some showers with some solar showers that we use. We have the basic toilet things. We have a garden. We have a Buddha pond. We have a well. We have a Zen place where we have a tank or a fish place and stuff, and we're very happy actually.
So people who come there, would they stay at your place, or would they stay at the village close by?
Some people are staying. We have a friend who lives nearby, and she has a nice place where she accommodates people, tourists and so on, some place like that. Here, we have a list of people who wanted to come here to participate in helping us to clear and to work. Sometimes I'm calling someone also, just because I feel intuitively to call them to say, come and spend a week here with me and like that. But everyone participates in the work in order to move it along and to ensure that we are trying to have a center here where people can come from anywhere in the world, and we can come and spend a few days, have retreats here and so on. This is the first time we've ever had anything like this. Apart from India. In India, we're sometimes 3 months in India, and we are virtually living there. We have it's like a community there in India. But here, we came by this land a year ago, and now we're living here. All of us who are here living here. Some people come for a week or 10 days and they move on. We have a list of people who apply to this, who would like to come. They have some skills to offer, something like that. So this is how it's been, and it is really the most beautiful place. The most beautiful place.
Will you travel to India this winter?
Yes, our intention is to go back to India and to Tiruvannamalai, the place where Sri Ramana Maharshi lived, Mount Arunachala. We are there each year for the last 7 years or so. We are going. So my feeling is to be in India mid-December. We will have a season of open satsangs, which are free to everybody, and we may have a 5 or 7 day silent retreat at the end of the season, which will be the beginning in the middle of February or something. Myself, I'm wanting to come back to the land as soon as possible, because we need to observe how the weather behaves, how the rain comes, and how the rivers flow, and these things. And we so much love being here. We also love being in India also, but we are I'm very much liking being here right now. And it means that many of our friends in Europe also can come more easily. Some people who can't make it to India, they can come more easily to Portugal. Most people cannot come right now because we are still in the early stages of making it. Yeah, setting up is a good word. But more and more it becomes more organized and practical in so many different ways. Like that's what we're doing. Yeah, we have on the website a little blog for people who are interested to show what is, what's going on, and we try and update that just when we can.
Yeah, that's good. Getting pictures that one can see where it is and how it is. And
yes.
I feel a lot of sympathy about this initiative. And this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So maybe we meet in Portugal someday.
Well, why not? It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling. It's a very nice feeling.
I've never been to Portugal. I lived a year in Brazil though, so Portuguese language is not a problem. But.
Right, you lived in Brazil for a while?
Yes, back in 1990.
Okay,
yeah. But the language is still there.
Yes, so you will be comfortable.
Yeah. Mooji, thanks again.
Reinhold, thank you. It's been a joy talking with you.
It has been a joy talking with you as always.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And we go
look forward to seeing you. Yeah. Okay.
Step by step.
Okay.
Cheers then.
Yes, best wishes to your viewers. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.
Very good.